Hi again, Mark here from Talking Bass. This coming Monday, January the 22nd, sees the release of the Music Theory for Bass course over at the Talking Bass website. It's by far the best course that I've ever done, and it's a total deep dive into music theory, taking you from the absolute basics through to advanced degree level jazz harmony. All of this is demonstrated with reference to the bass guitar, unlike the usual piano bass theory lessons that you might find online or in music college. The course is split into two volumes. Volume 1 is released on Monday and Volume 2 is released next month. Volume 1 alone contains 8 hours of video lessons and 145 pages of lesson material, so it's a pretty comprehensive course with online tests to work through after each of the 44 lessons. Today's video is lesson 16 from Volume 1 and is our introduction to the major scale. We look at the construction, how to play it in multiple positions, and much more. The lesson material is linked below, and if you like this lesson, be sure to check out the course release this week. So, without further ado, let's look at the major scale. Okay, so what is a scale? Well, a scale is a set of ascending or descending notes in pitch order. So think of a scale as a pitch ladder. We can climb up or down the ladder, and the most common scale is the major scale. This is the basis for the major key. If a song is in the key of C major, then the C major scale is the main palette of notes used to create the melodic and harmonic content. We can create melodies from a scale. We can create chords from a scale. And the major scale is without a doubt the most important scale that you can learn in all of Western music. In the earlier lessons on pitch, we looked briefly at that Pythagorean tuning and how this could give rise to a set of 4-note pitches known as tetrachords, which in turn give rise to the 8-note division of the octave. However, in modern day, we're more likely to look at scales just by way of their overall whole and half-step construction. The major scale is constructed with the following steps. We have 2 whole steps and a half step, then 3 whole steps and a half step. And you could also describe this as tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So from a note of C on a single A string, we can work up through those steps. So we have C, we move up a whole step to D, then we move up a whole step to E, then a half step to F, then a whole step to G, another whole step to A whole step to B, and finally a half step to C. Okay, so we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, which obviously on that A string is 3rd, 5th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 14th, and the 15th frets. Through the wonders of equal temperament tuning, we can transpose this formula of whole steps and half steps to any note and create another major scale. So from A, we would have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then A. So there's going to be a different set of sharps or flats for every single scale. So from G, we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So there's just that one sharp in there of F sharp. So it's that same set of whole step, half step, whole step, half step every time. So the sharps or the flats in that scale are determined by that intervallic sequence. So notice how the note names for each of those major scales are presented in alphabetical order. There is one iteration of each note name as we ascend and descend. So for G major, it's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. That F sharp is always going to be an F sharp, not a G flat. If it was a G flat, the scale is going to read G, A, B, C, D, E, G flat, G. So we're missing an F, okay, that F sharp. So each note of a major scale needs the complete set of notes in order, all in alphabetical order. So as another example, A major is spelled A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. We wouldn't use D flat or G flat or A flat as scale degrees in A major. And this is what I alluded to in the earlier lessons when dealing with sharps, flats, and natural notes. The decision as to whether to use an F sharp or a G flat or any enharmonic equivalency is determined by context. The key of the music is a huge determining factor. The harmony and chords of a piece are also determining factors, as are chromatic notes of a melody or bass line. These factors all come into play as we'll see later in the course, but for now, just focus on the fact that each major scale is going to contain all note names in order from a root note to its octave. Now, so far we've only worked up a single string, but it's much more efficient from a playing standpoint to work across the strings in one position. And when we do this for the C major scale, we find the following fingering pattern. So, if we start on that C again for the C major, at the 3rd fret of the A string, we've got this very popular scale that I'm sure many of you will already know. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So, 3rd and 5th frets on the A string, 2nd, 3rd and 5th frets on the D string, 2nd, 4th and 5th frets on the G string. So we're working across the strings here. So. And that's the C major scale. On bass guitar, this pattern can be shifted to any fret, and hey presto, there's our new key and major scale. So if we shift the pattern to G, so we have a G major, we start at this G at the 3rd fret of the E string. We just take that fingering pattern there, started at that 3rd fret, so we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, 3rd and 5th frets on the E string, 2nd, 3rd, 5th frets on the A string, 2nd, 4th, 5th frets on the D string. That's the G major scale. Then if we move up a half step to A flat, 4th fret of the E string, we get the A flat major scale. So just by moving that fingering pattern, we get our notes A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, and back to A flat. So I'd recommend practicing that major scale pattern with that specific fingering until you have it well and truly memorized. Move the scale around the fretboard and focus on playing with good technique and tone. So you might play that scale up and down the fretboard like this. We start at C, there, 3rd fret of the A string. Just up and down there. Make sure you get full note duration for each note. Okay, so we don't want staccato notes. It's got to be nice, smooth movement. Nice, clean technique. Then we move up a half step to C sharp or D flat. Just moving that fingering pattern up. Up to D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, and up to C. And then you can just come back down. So we're on B, the B flat, A, all the way back down. And by the time you've moved all the way up and back down, you'll probably have that fingering pattern down pretty well. As well as playing the scale as a simple pattern, we can also see how it looks in a practical application. So let's look at a simple bass line making use of a major scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this bass line is all based in the key of C major, so it's making use of the notes of the C major scale. So in terms of the rhythm, we have 8th notes here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so we're just missing out the beat number 3 there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We start with 2 C's there, 3rd fret of the A string. Then we come up through E and G, 2nd and 5th frets on the D string, 1 and 2 and. Then we come down on the end of 3, G, E, D. So 5th and 2nd frets on the D string, and then down to the 5th fret of the A string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then we just take that pattern up a string, so we move up to the F. So we've actually moved the chord here up to an F. So we've got F, F, A, C, C, A, G. So 3rd fret on the D string, 2nd and 5th frets on the G string, and then down those. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's the riff. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So, as you can see, all of the notes in that riff are contained within that C major scale, okay? Now, there's a lot more to creating music in a key than just picking the notes randomly from a scale. But it's worth playing around with that major scale, just, playing around with it, getting used to the sound of it, getting used to the sound of the individual notes, just playing rhythmically around it, just trying to create some music in that major scale. Now, remember, the major scale is just a set of notes. There are many different ways to play a major scale on the fretboard. For example, the C major scale is the set of notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, okay? All natural notes. So I can play up through them in a bunch of different ways. So I could work up C, over D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I could come up starting on the 8th fret of the E string there, C, then maybe D there, 5th fret of the A string, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C at one string. There's many different ways of playing just that one octave major scale. So you don't want to limit yourself to just a single one octave box pattern on the fretboard. You need to learn the notes of a scale all over the bass if you want to fluently navigate around the fretboard. There are many different ways to distribute those notes on the fretboard, and if we take one key like C major, this diagram shows how we can simply distribute those notes all over the fretboard in every area. So this is every note of the C major scale played in every position on the bass. Now, obviously, learning a fretboard pattern like we saw in that diagram is going to be difficult. One way is to just know the notes of the key, like C major is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, or G major is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. And you just know the notes on your fretboard so well that you can just pick them out. And if you can do that, you can effortlessly play up through a scale in any way that you want. So I could, if it was G major, I just know that it's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. I can work up G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. You just pick out the notes as you work your way up. But we are still going to want to look for efficiency in our playing and have a consistent fingering ready for when we play a scale. And this is why learning scales in positions can be incredibly useful. You don't need to see the fretboard as a whole. That's much too difficult and too inefficient a visualization. You only need to know the notes of a scale in the position or positions that you're playing in. So we've already learned this particular fingering pattern. That's because we're playing in that area. But we can learn other fingering patterns for it for when we're playing in other positions. The Scale Essentials course at TalkingBass is a great resource for learning how to play scales in position. Remember that we're only looking at the music theory side of scales, not so much the intricacies of playing them all over the instrument. However, it is worth just mentioning 3 simple patterns that you can use to pull you a little out of that single fretboard box and expand your thinking. So let's take a C here at the 8th fret of the E string. This is going to give us a little bit more real estate in both directions. So we could just play that standard fretboard pattern that we've learned already. That's that C major scale there. And we're starting on the 2nd finger. So we've got 2nd finger, 4th finger, 1st, 2nd, 4th finger, 1st, 3rd, and 4th finger. But what if we were to move our hand down slightly so that our pinky, the 4th finger, is somewhere over that 8th fret? Well, we can't play the major scale there in that same way. So if we played the C with the 4th finger, the pinky, where can we play a D? We've already played the C. Well, the D is going to be there at the 5th fret of the A string. So instead of this 10th fret here on the E string, we're going to play it at the 5th fret of the A string. So when we do that and we just work through the notes of C major, working across, we get C on the E string, then D, E, F on the A string, G, A, B on the D string, and then the C up at the 5th fret of the G string. Okay, so it's just a completely different pattern starting on that pinky. So 8th fret E string, then 5th, 7th, 8th frets on the A string, 5th, 7th, and 9th frets on the D string, and then the 5th fret on the G string. Now that is a major scale that many of you, if you're a beginner or even an intermediate player, you might not have seen that shape before because, everybody just gets so used to playing a really common pattern, but you can start on that 4th finger. And then, if we were to move the hand up slightly so that we actually had the first finger, the index finger, over the 8th fret, well, there's another pattern there. We can play the C and the D there, 8th and 10th frets on the E string, but we can play the E at the 12th fret of the E string. So we've got 3 notes per string. Then we can move up onto the A string and play the F, G, and A. Okay, so again, that's going to be 8th, 10th, and 12th frets. And then we can play the B and the C on the D string there at the 9th and 10th fret. Okay, so that's 3 different positions there for playing an exact set of notes, but just gives us a little bit more real estate if we want to move down a little or move up a little. So we've got the 4th finger, 2nd finger, and 1st finger. And just as a little spoiler for some of the information that's there in the Scale Essentials course, if you were to then expand on the notes in each of those areas, so let's say we're on the C there, starting at the 2nd finger, playing up our regular common pattern, and then fill in the notes up at the top with D, E, and F, and then down below, just below the C down to the B, we get all of the notes of C major in that area, from the E string up to the G string. Do the same thing with the 4th finger pattern. Expand a little so we get the D and the E on the top, and then move down below the C with the B and the A. Start at the C, work up, come back down, then go below the C, and then maybe come back to the C to finish. And for the 1st finger, get up to the C, play the D, E, F, G. So we're just learning all of the notes in position for that C major. And then you can simply do the same thing, starting at this C down here at the 3rd fret of the A string. 2nd finger, 4th finger, 1st finger. And then just expand the notes above and below. But like I said, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. I'd talk about that a lot more in the Scale Essentials. We're obviously not going to be delving too deeply into that, but it is worth knowing that that's a really good way of learning any scale by position. Now, as I mentioned earlier, learning a scale by note is invaluable in seeing the notes of a key all over the bass. Yes, these fretboard patterns are incredibly useful, but you should also strive to learn each major key by note name, okay? So we're learning the key. It's not just about the scale, it's about the key. Understanding keys is an essential part of being a musician, and learning by note is vital to learning all of the other theory that we're going to look at in this course. To help you out, every major scale is listed by note in the lesson material, and this is going to be a great resource for working on scales away from the bass. So, as practice, I would recommend writing out scales by note on manuscript paper. Remember, you can print the blank manuscript paper, that sheet of paper there, print it out as many times as you need. That's provided in the lesson material, and you can consult the list of keys and the notes contained in those keys while writing them out. Write the scales out, maybe in 2 octaves, write out each sharp or flat required, just work through the sharp keys and then through the flat keys. So you could start with only a few scales, maybe C major, up and down, G major, up and down, and then D major, and so on. You can also learn the order of notes in those scales by reciting them verbally as spelling drills. So just take a scale like G major, and then you can just work through it, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Just recite it to yourself. You can do that verbally, or you can just go through it in your head. But you can work through each one in turn. So let's say we to work through each of the major scales just in order from C. So C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. On to D major. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. E major, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. In each case, you just learn which of the notes is a sharp, and then you just work through them. So, spelling drills and the actual writing out of the scales on paper is going to be really good practice when it comes to learning the scales before moving on to the other lessons in the course. And as one last exercise, it is worth looking at the major scale played in 2 octaves on the bass. Now, the ultimate aim should be to recognize the notes of any major scale in all positions on the bass. Obviously, like I've said, the Scale Essentials course can provide you with a great resource for learning the fretboard in that way. But in this course, we'll simply look at a single fingering for moving up and down the fretboard in 2 octaves. So the C major scale in 2 octaves is going to look like this. So here we're starting at the 8th fret of the E string, and we're just working up through that standard second finger pattern that we looked at earlier. So we've got C, D on the E string, E, F, G on the A string, A, B, C. Then when we reach the C at the 10th fret of the D string, we just shift up with that pinky to the D there at the 12th fret of the D string. Then we can move up on the G string to the E, F, and G. So what we're actually doing here is taking the pattern that we played down at the start and playing it an octave higher. So we've got the E, F, G there, 9th, 10th, and 12th frets. Then we make our position shift up to the A there at the 14th fret of the G string, and we finish off with A, B, C. Okay, that's the A, B, and C that we played down here. So that's going to be 14th, 16th, and 17th fret. So that's it in ascent. Try to make as clean a switch as you can between the two positions there. If you find that difficult, just isolate the move. Then in descent, we're going to use a slightly different fingering. So we're going to come down C, B, A, G, F, E. So we're up at the top there. We've got the 17th, 16th, and 14th frets. Then we come down on the G, F, and E. So we're making use of that fingering, that single octave fingering here, but up at this C at the 15th fret of the A string. So we're coming down through that. Then we're going to move down when we reach the E at the 14th fret of the D string, down to the D at the 12th fret of the D string. So we've got a more progressive movement as we come down. This is going to avoid any sudden shifting or too many shifts in succession, because if we were to move up and then come back down the same way, we've got a lot of movement between that 12th and 14th fret. So coming down and transitioning on a different string just makes it a little bit more relaxed. Then we can reach down to the C, B, and A there, 15th, 14th, and 12th frets on the A string there. Then we can make our big shift there down to the G at the 10th fret of the A string, come down G, F, E, so that's 10th, 8th, and 7th frets, and then we just finish off with the D and the C there at the 10th and the 8th frets of the E string. So that's a nice relaxed fingering for a 2-octave C major scale. So that's a single fingering for a 2-octave major scale. If you'd like a series of scalar exercises working through all keys in multiple octaves, I'd probably recommend the Cyborg Bassist books here at Talking Bass. You can work through basic 2-octave scale fingerings followed by a whole host of different scalar sequences in every key. So if you want a deep dive into that side of it, then the Cyborg Bassist is the way to go.